Heroes of the Mist, a Worlds of Beirut multiverse campaign,
broadcasting
using
live
advanced
every Sunday
Dungeons
from
and
6
Dragons
p.m. to
1st
9 p.m.
Edition,
Pacific Time.
streaming live
Actual
on
play,
twitch.tv/RPG
multiverse,
research. We also
homebrew
discuss
campaign
psychology,
using
therapeutic
advanced Dungeons
recreation, and
Dragons first
neuroscience
edition,
concepts
and a
within the
fundraiser
context
for
of
a
role-playing
non-profit
gaming.
501c3
Every Sunday
charitable
from
research
6
and human
p.m.
services
to 9
organization,
p.m.
RPG Research.
Pacific
More
Time.
info and
This
donate
is a
at
family-friendly
RPGresearch,
stream.
RPGresearch.com.
You can learn more about Heroes of the Mist at www.mistheroes.com. Heroes of the Mist is an audience interactive show. If you join our Twitch channel during live show times, you will automatically gain hero points. You can gain additional hero points
and help spread the word on social networks, etc., and point that out to the moderators. They can give you even more bonus hero points. Or if you donate a one-time donation or a monthly donation through Patreon, even more, lots more bonus hero points for that. Then you can use the hero points to make lives more difficult for the player characters in the adventure. Yes, interesting. That's right. Interesting. May you live in interesting times. So you can do things like affect a little bit of the weather or encounters they run into or different types of people. It can't ever completely derail the main campaign, but it can certainly add complications and some interesting color. We've had a number of audience members already contribute in interesting ways. And I've done this before with other shows, and some of that stuff ends up becoming part of the canon in future for other groups down the road and such. So it can be a lot of fun. So that lets you participate. And also remember, the ultimate goal is to hopefully have you donate to RPG Research as a fundraiser for the research and community programs that we do. So just a heads up, I'm going to be on the road starting this Wednesday, September 19th, early in the morning, leaving Spokane, with the wheelchair-accessible RPG bus and wheelchair-accessible RPG trailer. These are mobile, wheelchair-accessible game rooms and music rooms, and going to be touring 8 or more Western states in the United States to try to raise awareness about accessibility and inclusiveness issues for gamers, and about the potentials for music and role-playing games and recreation therapy to help improve quality of life for a number of people from many different populations, and of course as a fundraiser for RPG Research. You can learn more about the tour at rpgtour.com. If you would like a visit from the tour, there is a web form you can fill out right there in the top menu that you can click to request a visit, and we'll try to accommodate as many as possible. If you're not in the Western United States, somewhere along the tour this time around, and you would like a visit, so we've had requests in Ohio, New York, New Hampshire, Edmonton, Canada, Pennsylvania. We've had requests throughout the country, and even South America. Go ahead and put in your request so that we can plan for the future. So we'll see. Now, for this trip, I'm funding this out of my own pocket, and all donations will go to RPG Research. The whole goal is to try to get the donations up for RPG Research. I won't be able to do that necessarily for future tours. It'll need to be a little more self-supported for future tours, but hopefully this will help enough that we can do more of those. So please do check that out. Now, I'm still kind of getting my computer dialed in here. We've been having the usual technology fun with everything. And I've been scrambling to get the bus and the trailer ready. It's been an adventure. If you want to see how the bus is coming along, check out rpgbus.com. And for the trailer, you can check out rpgtrailer.com. The bus we've been working on now for 19 months or so, almost every week. I did the math about how much I put into that bus so far.
Ouch.
So not counting the artwork, because I had estimated, including the bus itself, that it would be somewhere around $10,000 to have the bus mechanically fixed up before upgrading. Like, just get it all fixed. Get the brakes fixed, get the air conditioning fixed, get the alignment fixed, get the engine fixed, all that stuff. that when all was said and done, including the cost of the bus, would be about $10,000. Now that's not bad for a bus that size with a working wheelchair lift.
Okay.
That's including the
Okay,
cost of the bus.
Yeah, no.
So I got the bus for $2,000. I paid about $100 a month for, or $200 a month for 10 months. One of our volunteers, it was his father's bus, and his father passed away, and so we bought it off him. And then I've been taking it to shops, and each shop visit seems to be about $1,000 to $2,000 a pop. And now we've got a whole new brake system and a new exhaust system and a new radiator. And finally, as of last week, the air conditioning works. Woo! Here's hoping it stays working when I'm down in Tucson in 104-degree weather.
Knock on wood.
Although I do have a backup electric one, I'm still setting up that hopefully will work, and will work with the engine off.
That's a good point.
So that power inverter I got is basically the same thing the trailer has. You can plug in AC and it'll charge the batteries.
Right.
And I got 2 batteries now. And you can run generators, all of that stuff. So it is turning the bus into an RV just by buying that power inverter. It was $900, but it'll do the job. So anyway, getting ready to get on the road. Been frantically getting all that ready. As I said, I'm hitting the road Wednesday morning. So the show must go on. So I will be still dungeon mastering, because it's D&D, from the road. Now everybody will still be coming here to the studio. Joe will still be in Seattle remoting in, and I will be remoting in. This will be an interesting challenge as a game master. Now, I have run games before where everybody's remote. There's lots of people doing that now. Now, I started doing it in the 90s with See You See Me, with White Pine Reflector. I don't know if anybody here remembers that. Joe, do you remember White Pine and See You See Me?
Yes.
Okay, so little tiny 160 DPI, but back then resolution was only 640 by 480, 800 by 600 on a monitor. So 160 DPI for a little video wasn't that awful relative to what the monitors were at. And you could have up to 32 people in a video chat room. And you could be typing, and you could talk, or you could do video. And I set up my own reflector. And so when some of my friends started to leave town, we ran games remotely over the internet back in the 90s. I had a whopping 128K ISDN line. That was screaming fast. Everybody was so jealous about my ISDN line. So we can make it work. The main challenge will be finding, because if I use my MiFi and my cell phone to stream, I will run out of bandwidth very quickly. So the challenge will be finding some good Wi-Fi, that I can pull up with the bus and the trailer in someone's parking lot and mooch off their Wi-Fi that won't choke out because other people are all using it or something. So
Libraries after hours.
Right, yeah, something like that. I do have my old Cantenna on a tripod from my old war driving days, so that might help. So yeah, we're going to give that a shot. We're going to try to keep the show, so the show will still happen 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific time. The rest of the crew and staff, the cast will be here. Joe will be remote, I'll be remote, and we will see how that goes. As Weevil would say, what could
possibly go wrong?
So follow us for those adventures.
Thank goodness for Dan and Pyro being here.
Yes, thank goodness indeed. And so John will get, as the assistant GM, will get to sit in the GM chair again, which he gets to do plenty of times anyway. Yeah. But it's a comfy chair. The comfy chair.
It's better than the school dunce chair I'm sitting in.
Is that what you think of that one? So
Dad's not here. We get to use the comfy
now,
chair.
if you are in any of the 8 Western United States and you would like the RPG trailer and RPG bus to swing by your area, seriously, swing by rpgtour.com and click on Visit Request. If it's not too far off the path, I will gladly swing by with the bus and the trailer. Some of the stops I'll be staying at, for example, I'll be staying in the Bay Area for at least a day or two, because I'm checking out the Oakland role-play workshop there, where they've been running for like 26 years. First it started summer camps, and then it's kind of ongoing camps year-round. We're using role-playing games to help at-risk youth, etc. So I'm finally going to meet them in person. I've been talking to them on and off for years. And this might be the last year they're running it, because the woman who founded it, her health, she struggled on and off with cancer. And she announced recently this might be the last year that she's doing it. So really want to get to meet her in person. Thank you. So the Bay Area, I'll be there for a little while, in a day or two, and then going down Fresno. I might see if Valerie, who's one of our volunteers who kind of interned for the summer, she lives over in the just northwest of LA, and so maybe I'll swing by, visit there if she wants,
That'd
the
be
Austin
awesome.
trailer, and do so. And I may be in LA area for 2 days because several people have asked to do some interviews or podcasts or broadcasts down there. Hopefully they'll follow through, and we'll see how that goes. And then San Diego, I'll be there from the 24th to the 28th, so 3-4 days there. Then Tucson for the weekend, so the 28th through October 1st. And then slowly begin coming back up north. And should get back here in Spokane the earliest, if nothing goes wrong, October 6th. Or on the outside, October 10th or 13th will be when I'm back in town. So, and you'll be able to follow real time on RPG Tour. If you click on the Road Trippers thing, I'll turn on the app that shows like a little dot where I'm at real time on the map. So you can follow that. And as far as time estimates where I'll use Twitter. So Twitter will be how we on RPG. It'll be at RPG Tour. That's where you can see like, okay, I'm expecting I'll be in Kennewick at 3 p.m. Things like that. So that'll be the way people can kind of stay in the loop. So check that out. Let's go ahead and introduce everybody, and then I think there are one or two topics that we wanted to cover in addition. So I'm Hawk Robinson. I'm your game master and host. I've been gaming since the 1970s, and researching the effects of all role-playing games since the early 80s. Have implemented role-playing games in educational settings since '85, and in therapeutic settings since 2004.
John Welker, Vice President of RPG Research, Assistant Game Master / Dungeon Master. Been gaming since the 70s as well, so 40 years next year. And spent a lot of time running games at conventions and things like that, organizing them.
Hey there, I'm Adam. I'm going to be playing Torin, who is a human thief. And really, he's just, a good old boy from the six, but, well, he's out for adventure, and he found it.
Be careful what you wish for.
Exactly.
I am Lillian. I am playing River. She is a sea spirit folk blue gen with martial arts.
I'm Katie Coonan. I'm playing Moisha Turtlebomb. Moisha is a tailor. His lady love has an eye for the adventurers who come through town, so he's out to get his own adventures to win her heart.
And I am Andrew, and I will be playing Talk, who's he's a bit of a stage magician, although he actually has real illusions. He's a rather tall and good-looking gnome, and he's out for fame and adventure.
And hey, I'm Bill, and I'm playing Weevil. And Weevil is a scientifically minded gnome fighter illusionist, and basically looking for the history of the ancient elven airships and spelljammers. And by the way, I've been playing D&D for almost as long as John and Hawk as well, so this is definitely it's a nostalgia thing, playing First Ed.
And behind the scenes, we have... Oh, well, no, sorry. On the screen, we have Joe. Joe, speak up, Joe.
I'm Joe Kuhn. I am playing Ferhat Guerion, a simple contract negotiator who enjoys fine fabrics and selling them to people who need them and making sure they pay.
Let me get this straight. You said simple contract negotiator.
Yes.
It's not complicated.
Are you simple or the contracts?
Simple, contract negotiator, not simple contract negotiator.
All contracts are simple if you can simply read them. If you have a basic understanding of the meaning of words, you should be able to understand any contracts put before you.
Said the party of the first party to the party of the second party.
I don't like that part. Tear it up.
And behind the scenes, we have helping make the AV and streaming and all that and the overlays and artwork happen. Dan, and Pyro. Thank you guys so much for helping make this happen, and it'll be even more interesting when I'm on the road, because you guys will have to figure it out if I'm not here, if something goes wonky.
Just turn it on and off again multiple times.
Have you tried switching it off and on?
Yeah.
Indeed.
Are you sure it's plugged in?
Yes, indeed.
My coffee cup holder's not working.
Interestingly, last stream, we had a reporter here from, he works for a couple of local magazines over in Tri-Cities and here in Spokane, Inlander. And it was Tumbleweird is the other one he was writing for out of the Tri-Cities. It was Quinn. And so he was taking lots of photos and such. And then after we had a very in-depth discussion about how people were brought into role-playing gaming and how they feel it affected their lives and such, unfortunately most of the audio was not recording on our mics for that. It was muted. I got like the last half hour or something, but the other hour and a half, it's just us.
Did you get the audio from him?
So he said I reminded him today, and he says he's going to start uploading today, and so it's just from a cell phone, and he didn't catch everything, but we're getting a hang of that. Now, one of the things we got to remember to do before anybody leaves today, and that's why I was getting my computer set up. I got to print out the model release forms because he needs that for any pictures and such to the magazine. The paper needs that from you guys. Joe, I'll email you one, and you can just digitally sign it, or print it out, sign it, take a photo, send it to him. I'll give you his email address. So let's just make sure we get that done right away because we want to get that article out and everything. But it was really thank you guys so much. You gave some really wonderful responses. I thought that was very, very interesting. And we will, when we get the audio recordings, that will be on our Patreon site for several weeks before we have that. And I'm not even sure if we're going to make those for the public or not. I don't know. We'll see. I'd at least wait till after his article is out before I would make any of that public.
And check the quality of his audio.
Right, it's going to be cell phone, and it's going to be what it's going to be. I mean,
if it's all crackly and stuff or whatever.
Some people are. I mean, I know in general, audio is a big deal for people. That's number one. But some people are at least interested in just hearing the information. Again, it would have been great if the equipment wasn't muted, but it was what it was, and some people would rather hear something than nothing. So,
I'm used to old-time radio. The crackles and the pops were part of the story.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Hawk, I'm still wanting to, not in Patreon, but I'd like to see some of these videos. And I went to YouTube,
right,
and all I found were like
the first three.
There was like the rehearsals or whatever, the auditions, and then there was a minute of episode 1, and that was it. Okay,
I'm still switching those from Patreon access only to public access. I have to manually flip the bits on that, and I just haven't had time because of the road trip. So those are there. It's just a matter of making them publicly accessible. And a few of those, actually, Dan, when you get a chance, double check. There should be at least the first 3 episodes public. If you go to youtube.com / use I think Chrome, you can view, or actually just use the Alienware. Okay. You go to youtube.com / RPG Research, and then go to the playlists, and there should be a Heroes of the Mist playlist. And there should be 3, I thought.
I looked at it too, and there's only the first episode.
Okay.
You got a few minutes of it.
Okay, yeah. Dan, you go ahead and double check that, and otherwise we'll have to tweak some more of those to get more of those public, because they're generally it's about a month delay from Patreon only to the public. So, but
2 years.
I've been juggling a lot here. Well, yes, we've had some there for a couple of years. You're going to bring that up every time. So, and Bill, you had another question, a science-y question.
Floater game.
Yeah,
floater
gamer floater. Yeah,
gamer floater.
So we were talking about stereotypes versus archetypes. And I have a whole lecture on archetypes, which includes stereotypes related to player archetype specialists. We've talked about it before. I'm not going to go into depth on that. If you want to know more about that, check out on our website and stuff about player archetype specialists. It's a whole volunteer role where you play like a Munchkin player or a rules lawyer player, and you are intentionally difficult for the game masters because that helps us train the game masters to be ready for the real world in dealing with those types of players and in how potential ways to address and make those players so you don't have to kick the players out of the game, so you can help hang on to them and use them as keep them as part of the group. Archetypes are kind of a starting point that give you kind of a template to start from and then expand from, and you can have overlapping archetypes, and archetypes are not restrictive. They're just a starting point and a shorthand. They are the opposite of stereotypes. Or stereotypes, you get shoved into a box and everybody is this stereotype. Like whatever category you pick, you're in the stereotype, and it doesn't allow for variance and such. It's you are the stereotype.
The jocks, the nerd, the preppies.
Exactly. And one of the stereotypes, of course, is about gamers and how gamers live in their mother's basement. There's no female gamers. There are only males. All gamers are losers. They don't have any jobs. They have no social skills. They have no hygiene. They're, the early versions where they're homicidal or they're suicidal. They're antisocial. They're cultists. Well, okay, the Cheetos and Mountain Dew might be valid. But wasn't that just last week, Bill, that you had the Cheetos here?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Stereotypes.
I brought the Cheetos.
They happen for a reason.
Well, but here's the thing about the gamer stereotypes, though. Mm-hmm. Prior to all the media attention of the 80s, though there was an influx because it started in the Midwest for role-playing gaming, it quickly diversified. Then, as the negative press started to ramp up in the mid 80s, you create kind of what's called self-fulfilling prophecy, whereas if you say over and over and over, only these type of people will participate in this activity, the people who don't fit that profile will avoid that activity. So then you create a self-selection. So
and
you start seeing
that activity will be drawn to it. Oh, this is
potentially right. But so that caused kind of shifts. Like when I was gaming in the 80s, it was much more even male-female groups. It was more diverse, and then I saw it kind of change in the late 80s and 90s. That's been loosening up and improving since. But when I came to Spokane and I wanted to start up some new groups, I didn't know anybody in Spokane, so I started putting up flyers and announcements, and these people started showing up for my games that fit the stereotypes brutally. Horrible body odor and hygiene, horrible social skills, extremely aggressive and argumentative. No. Nope. They were too cheap and broke to bring anything. That was the other thing. It was always good gamer etiquette to bring snacks and stuff to share with everybody, and came to Spokane and nobody was doing that. I didn't bring these people to my house. I met them at the local game store because I didn't dare have them come to my house. I was afraid I'd be robbed or something. It was a pretty sketchy group. And as I went to other game stores and stuff, it was kind of the same thing. And I was like, oh, maybe is this what Spokane's like? And I went to Seattle and saw the same thing. And I'm in Portland. I've seen the same thing. Like, is this what the Northwest gamers are like? What the heck? I came from California and Utah and Arizona and Texas and Oklahoma, and that was not my experience with gamers. And I was like, what happened?
Did I move to the wrong city?
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering. But eventually, over time, I was able to weed through and start finding the gamers that I had come to know and love. And that's where I started to develop the concept of the gamer floater theory. And that was around 2007 or 8, I think I first started writing about that. And as I've done more research and just kind of observed, it's not something I think I can ever prove, because it would require the ability to survey and observe all gamers in all environments. And that's just not possible. There's way too many self-selection problems.
Probably.
Not legally.
Oh.
You need more time on a supercomputer.
Yeah. So what my gamer floater hypothesis is that there's a small percentage of gamers who really fit the stereotype of all the negatives about gamers. Mm-hmm. It looks like it's probably 1% or less. It could be as high as 10% in some areas, but in general, it's like 1% or less of the gamer population. However, they're the gamers you see 90% of the time, because these are the gamers who get kicked out of all the good groups because their social skills are so bad, because of whatever their mental health issues might be, whatever their functional issues might be, their hygiene issues might be. They're so combative, they're so disruptive to the game, nobody can game with them. And so even people who really want to try to make it work, just like, we can't, you're destroying the group, we need to ask you to leave. But they love the game, right? Because it's a wonderful experience, and they're not willing to give up. So they're the ones who, because they want to have the opportunity, they're all first person at the game store when there's a new game group. They're the first person at the conventions when there's pickup games. They're the first person when there's a new flyer or posting on Meetup to sign up for the Meetup group. The same people that I ran into early on are often the same people I see on Meetup. And I've had to since go, sorry, I'm looking for new players. I try to be as nice about it as possible, but because I don't want to ban them, right?
Anyone watching who was from that time, not you, those are the other guys.
And so, like in the Spokane area, it's maybe a dozen people out of over 800 people. But it's the same dozen people, and you see them everywhere. I see them at every convention throughout the Northwest. I see them at every game store that they haven't been banned from. So they have been banned from some of them, and they just they show up all the time and everywhere. Well, it's because otherwise they're not going to get any gaming because they can't stay in any one group. Every group kicks them out, so they float from group to group to group to group. And so you see them, that's what the public sees is the typical gamer. Because most of the gamers I've known don't go to the game store, don't go to conventions. I didn't go to conventions. The only conventions I've gone to for the most part, I'm either speaking at them or I'm hosting them. I've never go to conventions for fun. That's, for me, it's not a fun experience unless I'm doing something professionally. It's great for other people, it's just not my thing. And most of the gamers I know, they never go to that. That you get a gaming group in your living room with your friends or new friends, and you play with the same group 3, 5, 10, 20 years. And some people get married and move, so you have an opening for a new seat, you put a word out and you replace one person. It takes a little bit to get the right person, and then you play for years. You never see those gamers, and they're by far the majority of the gamers out there. But nobody ever sees that. Well, and because of the stigma about gaming, and I went through this in the 90s, early 2000s when I was building my career, I did not dare tell people I was a gamer, not at work and stuff, because of the stigma. I was afraid it would affect my position. So what's that?
Closet gamer.
I was a total closet, and I've met many since. And in Israel, there was a whole article in 2005 claiming that some general said that he would revoke or deny people security clearances if they admitted they played D&D and stuff. Now, there's some debate about the validity of that article because D&D is really popular in Israel. But,
Really?
yeah. Yep. Also South America in the 90s, it was booming in the 90s because of a PhD who talked like Brazil's government into getting the schools and libraries and everything to do it. So anyway, that's where the whole gamer floater theory came from. 90% of what people see is less than 1% of the gamer population. And it unfortunately gives a bad representation of what gamers are. So that's part of the purpose of this game is variety and relatively functional people, and we treat each other kindly. We treat each other kindly, etc.
Oh. Jonah. The rest of you are functional.
Some of them are even people.
And
I think I'm a person. That's about it.
And then that also with the road trip, that's just also to raise awareness and such, and talk to people and so that should answer your question. Now we're a ways into this, so we should go ahead and get going on the game. So last time, previously on Heroes of the Mist, we were in the little tiny town of Downby, and you had brought the little girl, Minera.
Yes.
And looking for her Auntie Molina and Unky Droth. And you came into town. You only have one human in the party. You are in an area that is extremely xenophobic.
Face man.
the 15-year-old, not particularly. You roleplay your character correctly for your character. Kudos to you for doing that, even knowing that it's still going to cause problems, which may be part of the fun, but it is also good that you're played in character that way. So sometimes Torin does not have the best filter, and has unfortunately said things that maybe should not have been said, that have led to negative reactions and have made things a little more difficult for the party members.
But he learned.
Yeah, he did. He did
He's
really good
learning
his last
English.
time.
Great other times.
Yeah, but he's your one human representative. of
He
the
also
entire
makes a pretty
group.
good distraction when he starts chatting with someone.
Yes, that's true. When you came to all those refugees, he was able to keep everybody looking at him as he was being loud while you slunk past. Now, River doesn't look non-human, but clearly looks like a foreigner in good light, and so that certainly is something to be careful about. And you've
to be
seen some
honest, in a
backlash.
world with multiple sentient races that are humanoid, what's really the difference in the end? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. If you're different, and you're not from around here is an issue. And you're inland enough away from all the other borders that these folks are more insulated and so much more threatened by things that are strange and different. Not to mention the entire invading force of Mordred's forces coming from the south. And so there was a big town debate about whether to stay or go. If they stay, there will be trouble. Or if
Should
they-
I stay or should I?
yeah, if they go, there will be trouble. If they stay, it'll be double. I don't know, something like that. So, so that was going on, and meanwhile, you were trying to get the little girl to find her aunt and uncle. Finally, Torin found where they lived, delivered the kid, fibbed a little about the details about the status of her family who died from the plague and such. Didn't
Hey,
really.
I
He
didn't
didn't
mention.
fib, he just omitted details.
There was a little bit of fibbing. There was a little bit of fibbing.
there was some pivot.
I didn't
There was
mention
some
the
outright
plague.
fibbing.
I
You've
didn't men-
avoided any panicky items.
You
Yeah.
said you didn't know when you knew.
Yeah. So you
I didn't mention they were all dead. I didn't
Right.
mention a lot of things.
yeah. Yeah.
Because now I can.
Lies of
Let,
omission.
let them deal with the trauma later.
Right.
We're long gone.
See, he's
Also,
learning.
who knows
But
where
that
souls
was what's that, Joe?
go? Who knows where souls go? Are they okay? I don't know. Are they good people? Is there an afterlife?
What was their religion?
So he played it pretty safe and pretty cagey, and was able to drop off the little girl and get out of there.
Yes.
Well done. Other parties it has not gone as well. So nicely done. And you guys did, I mean, other than your initial run-in with the barkeep being not so happy with Farhad being Iridian, he didn't care. He didn't know he was half Elven. He just knew he was Iridian, and turned out he had family who fought in the war before, and so apparently there was some bitterness there. And
The riot we accidentally
poor Moisha, well, we'll get to that. Poor
Accidentally?
Moisha got kicked out in the rain with Farhad. But yeah, then the next day, to create distractions to try to... I'm still a little fuzzy. Why was the riot necessary? You guys...
I'm still asking that question.
Yeah, so there was a gathering in
Riot
the
was
town.
not necessary. It was a DM's response to a genius idea that he didn't like.
I didn't have any problem with it. It just seemed appropriate for these extremely ignorant folks would
How many
freak
times
out
has
to
the
see
deity showed up and there wasn't
a
panic?
strange Odin, a strange gnome-like Odin-esque
Kinda
figure in the
Kind
sky.
of looks like a butt.
Well, first, well, actually, what's that?
Also, Bill sabotaged us.
Yeah.
And nobody was polite enough to notice my miss.
Well,
They noticed my
preceding the
miss.
post-miss preceding Odin were these rainbows shooting through the village.
Which I used because they didn't notice the miss.
Right, yes, they were beautiful rainbows. Kind
Maybe
of put
get
people
over the
on the
crowd.
alert that something strange was going on.
Hey, who's
around.
afraid of rainbows, really?
Right,
Come on.
and then I remember now. You guys were trying to get them to leave the town before the Mordredian forces arrived.
I
So
think
you
we'll do
wanted to
that now,
convince
yeah.
them that it was a clear and present danger. and that Odin was telling them, "Get out of here."
Yes.
J-Boy's big boy arm.
A Odin-like figure.
Nomadin.
A
Nomodin.
Odin-like figure.
Right.
We did not
didn't-
impersonate a god.
You didn't violate trademark or copyright.
One's a right
God.
made friends.
No
Because
god's identity was stolen for the purposes of this.
Because trademark
this
enforcement for deities is painful.
Yes.
So the idea was, and it was a clever idea, they're using a 2D illusion. I'm really skeptical. I think we're really over. I think the cantrip 2D illusion, I think we've kind of distorted beyond its
It's
normal.
getting used a little more.
Little heavily, because first it was a dragon to escape out of the port city of Balkoth during the battles there.
Says the man who loves Firefinger and all
Hey,
that.
I tried to use a whole
No, I
bunch
love
of other-
cantrips. No, I know. I
I
just
tried to use a whole bunch of other
it just
spells,
feels a lot
cantrips.
larger than I thought it would be.
That's cheap.
And that's why they made it only 5 foot square in 5th ed.
Yeah.
And they couldn't move it in 5th ed.
But some very clever uses of their cantrips, being you have 2 gnome illusionists. One's a fire illusionist, one's a straight illusionist. And very clever uses. But unfortunately, the villagers, being the ignorant villagers that they are, they freaked out. First the rainbows had them very distressed, then Odin in the sky, and then these forces marching up the road from the south. Panic ensued. People started scattering in many directions, which was part of the point. They scattered north, east, and west, not south. Unfortunately, about a dozen people, especially little children and old ladies, were trampled in the mud in the process.
Injured.
Nobody was killed, fortunately, but
no one-
some badly injured.
Talk ran in and
Yeah,
started
Talk bravely
saving the kids.
Talk bravely ran in and started saving them. And then River shortly thereafter came in to start helping as well. Pulled them out of the mud. Some of them were face down, suffocating, so that was a good thing. And propped them up on the benches near the Great Hall Temple to Odin, while everybody else dispersed. It sounded like people were fleeing. They were gathering everything they could and were getting ready to leave. So, though it might have been a little more chaotic than intended, your overall purpose seems to have worked. The argument and debate was over. They are fleeing. Mission accomplished. Maybe not exactly as smoothly as hoped, but
Every single one of them would die, and now it's just 12 injured.
so there you
We're
go.
saviors.
There you go.
I mean, if you want to make an omelet, you have to break a few elderly people.
No, elderly people don't have any eggs anymore.
Oh!
What's the rate of the show?
Just biology.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So,
Oh, we've lost the tech crew.
Dad's just cracking up here. So, you guys had propped them up against the benches and such.
Yes.
You had come back.
No, I had
No.
fled into the forest.
Oh, right.
No one told me about
That's
any
right.
of
When
this.
all the chaos was going on, you saw this. You didn't know what was going on. Saw Odin, Gnome in the sky and these rainbows. You didn't know what was going on. So you fled north into the woods and then ran through the woods to get away. And then you're lost somewhere in the woods.
But I have plenty of food, so I'm good for a
You're
while.
well stocked, but you're lost somewhere in the woods.
I know exactly where I am.
River and Talk, after taking care of these people, then left quickly, going around back towards where the others were gathered in the woods at the edge of the woods there, right? Oh, I don't have my... Let me get my... Won't need this
we're
much longer.
We're back at the edge of the woods.
Yeah, so... I need my pointer stick. So, here's the center where all the chaos was. Torin fled that way. You guys all gathered back around here. And as far as I know, everybody but Torin was there now.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Including animals, horses, etc. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
We have the Gnomon go and kind of ascend into the heavens after warning all the people away.
Except one slight
That's very cool looking.
addendum. Moisha, I believe, was still down south, dealing with the merchant. that.
No, I had finished buying my.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. As a diversion.
But I don't think.
That's right.
I don't think he
Oh, wait.
joined us.
This is important to mention because this is about the audience interaction.
Hate the game, not the player.
Though it's technically audience interaction, because part of the point is to get donations and everything, players are welcome to donate to get bonus hero points and stuff. Because they can't hang out in the Twitch room and get automatic hero points. So the only way players can get hero points is they got to donate. Which is great, because that's the whole point of all this, is to raise funds for the nonprofit RPG research. Katie donated through Patreon, right? You did Patreon. So she got through Patreon, which is monthly, you get for every $10, you get a bonus 1,000 hero points. And she then chose to spend it on the $800 catalog item that you can pick from of a merchant coming up the road. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, that works. Sure, I'm not sure why, but okay. So the merchant's coming up the road, and as soon as I get the word from the crew, I try to integrate your request into the story as much as can work. I mean, I shoehorn it in, but I try not to make it too shoehorned. It just, it's a random encounter. These things happen. If you're sitting in a locked dungeon, you're not going to have a merchant suddenly appear through the wall of the dungeon, right? I got to figure out something. There might be one outside the thing going, "Hey, you want some extra food or something?" I'll figure it out.
You can have a merchant thrown into jail with you.
Right,
but none of his
right.
wares.
I have to be creative about the circumstances, but I do it as fast as I can from once I'm informed.
Just because he's a merchant doesn't mean he has all his
True.
stuff to sell.
Good point. Good point. So I was like, okay, so I had it show up right as they were doing their plan here, which kind of foiled Talk's part of it a little bit, because there was going to be this illusion and people panicking and like, So Moisha went down and distracted the merchant, took the merchant around to the back, and started asking for some goods.
Brilliantly distracted him by buying the exact things
that Moisha had needed since having to burn his armor early in the game campaign because of the plague, and has been asking, do they have any armor? Do they have any armor? Do they have any... Nope, sorry. Do they have any armor? So, made the merchant show up who would have armor and such, and is now re-equipped, and kudos, I think that was a brilliant plan. So,
I was very proud of it when I thought of it.
And I did not see that coming at all. That's what's so lovely about
this. I've got a few
this.
things like that in the works that I've been thinking about.
Some cunning plans, okay. And that's the beauty of this game, is it has that, even the game master, doesn't know everything's going to happen, and that's part of the fun. I love that. Some game masters, that's scary. I love it. And I'm happy to roll with the punches and go, okay, all right, let's go with this. Let's see what happens with this. All right.
It is a multiverse setting.
It is a multiverse setting, too, so things are very... And if you spend enough hero points, there's some pretty radical stuff high up that can happen if you look at that catalog. Not too far off. Not too far off. So,
not just a UFO, but the entire cast of Red Dwarf. The entire crew of Red Dwarf.
Actually, I think they would fit in with the vibe we have right now.
All right, but anyway, I was showing this off because for my birthday, this was a wonderful gift. So it's a nice little Celtic lap harp.
It goes with your Bardic hat.
What's that? Oh, yes, you're right.
It's up above on the other side.
Right on your right hand side.
Okay.
Throne.
Well, Twitch can't see it. No, they're not going to be able to see it.
Oh, because the green?
It's invisible. It's a hat of invisibility.
You shouldn't be activating...
It's a Tyrolean hat of invisibility.
Is it disappearing?
It's showing the background behind.
I like the floating feather.
So,
that was creepy.
So maybe putting something else on the top of that throne would be
no, I think that's great.
Just a floating feather.
Yes.
By the way, that hat is from Andy Doprowski and Scott C. Brown of The Gamers and Two Bards. Scott C. Brown was the bard from The Gamers 2 Darkness Rising, who died like 50 times.
Mm-hmm. The bard died, not Scott.
The bard did, yeah, not the player. And this says, there's 39 more of me, colorful metaphor, and this is number 11 of 50. So these were handmade by Andy's wife and such. A wonderful gift from them when I went on tour with the trailer in 2016. All right. We all caught up then?
Oh,
You're in the woods. Okay, yes.
Can I roll for psionics?
Psionics.
Psionics. I don't know.
Not psychotics.
I don't know.
Actually, we already rolled for psychotics. And when you're making characters, those were actual rolls to make. And everybody passed. Yeah, let's do this because it is powerful. Grab the player's handbook, please, John.
Right here.
So, because this is something we forgot to do for everybody's character.
Now, the requirements is you have to have one of your.
You gotta
mental
have
stats.
high stats, yeah. So I need the. Can you get me the blue
I think
one?
it was
Wisdom and charisma.
Charisma. One of them had to be above 16, or all.
And then
of
it's
them.
cumulative. Each point above gives you increasing percentage chance of success.
Yeah.
It's very low. It's like 1% per point,
Yeah, I
it's
think
or something
one
like
and a
that. It
half
depends on
for
which ones.
intelligence, one
It's-
for wisdom and a half for charisma.
Yeah. So let's quickly do the math for you guys, because if anybody does have psionics, it's awesome. Psionics are a very fun feature. We won't go into figuring out which talents you have right now, because we don't want to kill
yeah.
the game.
I just want to roll.
But let's
for
just
it.
see if anybody does have it, and then we can, during the break or after the show,
Rolling
flush
a
that out.
20-sided or a
No, percentile. Everybody will need percentile dice. So two 10-sided dice.
Does it help that I'm half elephant?
And if you don't have a die, that shows the tens part, then you need to declare the color that is your tens part before you roll. I don't want somebody going, "Oh yeah, it's this,"
Right.
Otherwise, you re-roll.
And you have to have
A
something above 16, right?
I believe so, but let me double check. Okay. So no, it's different. It is. So you get 1 point for any unmodified point of intelligence, wisdom, or charisma above 12.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay, so add 1. So each point above 12, not at 12. So 13 is 1 point.
So until
If 2 of these scores are above 16, the number of points is doubled.
oh.
If 3 of the scores are above 16, the number of points is quadrupled.
Wow. And wait, is it
However,
Wait,
you
wait.
have to have at
intelligence
least
or
one of those intelligence, wisdom, or charisma above 16.
above 12.
Look above 3 paragraphs.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
One or
Yeah.
more unmodified
Yeah.
intelligence, wisdom, or charisma
Okay. Yeah.
above
You must
16 or
have.
higher.
You must.
Might.
Yeah. You must have 1 or more
Okay. Then
of these stats at 16 or higher: intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. Any one of those is 16 or higher, then you have a chance.
I'm
Okay.
tapped out at 15.
And then the bonuses apply after that.
Right. Yeah. Once we determine that, so that's the first step.
Okay.
So, are you eligible?
Nope.
Are you eligible?
Yes.
Are you eligible?
Yes.
Are you eligible?
No.
Are you eligible?
No.
Are you eligible?
Oh no.
Okay. All right. So
Barely no, but
just these 2. What's that, John?
I was assuming the illusionists would be the ones that were most eligible.
So, River, what is your intelligence?
18.
Oh, wow. Okay. What is your wisdom?
My wisdom's 11.
Okay, that doesn't help. Okay. Charisma?
16.
yikes.
Okay.
We need to
And-
make her the front man more.
And Moisha?
Intelligence is 15, wisdom is 16, charisma is 13.
Okay. So, and if 2 are above, then you get double
Can you imagine
points.
scoring someone getting
So,
to the
River, you do
points?
get double points. All right, and so
But
that's
still you could
12.
roll like 100.
Yeah, it's still really tough. So
Yeah.
so that's
But better chances
That's gonna
are
be-
great.
12 and 8, so 20. And Moisha, your single points, so that's 3 and 4, 1, so that's 8. All right. So. It's been so long since I did this.
basically, if they don't roll like at 98.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm
something like
trying to give them exact
98.
numbers here.
Yay. Oh
that.
wait,
We
I
will
don't
make,
qualify.
then we might actually do a calculation.
For each 1 point of intelligence, add 2.5 to the dice roll for each. Oh, so the second one was for the points. That's what I was. Okay. So, okay, the first one's percentage. All right. So I got ahead of myself there. Sorry. Okay, 18 is. Okay, for 1 point of system and 2.5. Okay, so that's. And. Okay, so that's a 5. And you don't get any. Okay, so Moisha, you have to roll double odd. You have to roll 100.
Nope.
Okay, so no psionics for you. You have to roll a 95 or higher
Okay.
for River.
93.
Oh! Let me double check my math, make sure I didn't screw up.
Psychotics.
Give it to her.
Okay, so
you
intelligence
think you have
18.
psionics.
She can have my 98 roll.
16 or higher might have a
This,
little
you know,
notice.
Oh, look!
Okay, for each point of intelligence above 16.
See, one of those is on the paper and one of those is on the mat, so that doesn't count and it needs a re-roll.
The one on the mat, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Nothing above.
Because you were clearly aiming for the paper.
Yes, the paper is the good zone. Everything off
Yep,
the paper.
no, that was it. So close. 2 points away.
2 points.
That would have been cool to have at least one sound system to group. Sonics are fun. They're near the back. They're like almost the back of the book. 12 pages from the back or something.
Now,
Yes.
it said that it was unmodified. Now, does
Yes.
that
Meaning, like, if you're not wearing a ring or
Yes.
a potion or something, it has to be your natural innate ability.
So, if something happens in your story that increases one of your stats without...
This is what you're born with.
Okay.
This is what you're born with. It's telepathy, ESP, stuff like that. It's what you're born with. You don't suddenly get it as you go up in stats. You either have it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very rare. I have played hundreds and hundreds of characters over the years, and I've had maybe 5 or 6 with psionics since the 1970s. It is a slim chance, but boy, it's fun when it's there. Yeah, that was close.
Yeah.
That was so close.
All right, now we need to kill off your character and put your sister in.
Same stat.
All
They're
right,
very similar. They're twins. They had the
So-
exact same upbringing.
let's get on with the story then,
All right,
shall we?
finally.
Her sister Creek.
You're running through the woods. Have you stopped running? Are you just sneaking again? Or?
I've probably gotten deep into the woods where I can't see the town.
Yep,
and
I can't see it at
hunker
all.
down and just find myself like some big log to hide in or something.
Okay. All right. Somewhere faintly in the distance, you can hear a weird barking and screeching sound that sounds familiar. Very faintly, somewhere in the woods.
It should be dog.
I'm quiet and small, listening.
Okay. All right. The rest of you are gathered together. I don't know if any of you have noticed if Torn is missing yet or not. You may not have noticed, but you're all gathered together. What do you do? And it was what was it, about 1 in the afternoon by now? Was it that?
About right.
Yep.
Afternoonish.
Yeah. Yeah, it was shortly after 12, so about 1 o'clock by now. We'll call it 1 p.m. All right. Talk amongst yourselves. Decide what you're going to do. Declare your actions.
Well, that could have gone better, but it could have gone worse.
Could have gone worse, but we seem to be missing point.
Wait. What were you anyway?
I was shopping.
Shopping?
There was a merchant. You remember the merchant? I was covering for you.
That cart that was coming up from the south?
Yeah, I was distracting him by buying his wares,
Is a merchant?
And,
so
and
he wouldn't notice you.
now
Nice
you haven't
helmet.
donned any of this, have you, or have
I
you
thought you
donned
had the
it?
helmet on.
I had the
Oh, you
helmet.
have.
I put the helmet and the armor on.
Okay, yeah. So fresh armor, well, semi-fresh armor. And
Yeah.
it's used, but you know.
And he had like clothes and stuff. And you bought armor.
Of course. Had to burn my armor before.
I noticed you didn't buy anything for the rest of us.
Couldn't carry it.
And what about food?
He didn't have food.
I'll be right back. And Tuck starts running to the south.
So Tuck starts running to the south. Does anybody want to say anything before he runs away from the party? Or just let him run off? Okay. Farhad says something to you.
Doc, wait. We can get things at Lady Draenara's. I'm sure she'll have something suitable for all of us.
Yes, because every place we've gone has been full of clothing merchants.
And I'm
We could've
dressed like
got
a
things
little
at
kid.
Torchblade's house, but everyone was gone or dead.
I'm sorry, Joe. What was that?
We could have gotten more things at Torchblade's house, but everyone was gone or dead or burned or killed by us.
Or plagued?
I just want to see if he's got any gnomish clothes. I mean, if he travels far and wide, he might actually have something that'd fit me and actually be nice. Because I had to burn my good performance clothes. I've got nothing. I've got rags to wear if we ever have to perform for anyone, and it might come in handy sometime, you know.
Do you think a merchant like him, selling things to people like these, could survive having anything unusual in his wagon?
He had leather that fit a dwarf.
Or just a small person, a short, stout man?
A very short, stout human man.
They don't make
I'm
armor
4
for
feet
children.
tall.
They don't usually make them that shape.
Fine, off you go. Shine bright.
In the meantime, we should go looking for Torin.
And we need to set some rally points though for just in case, and we can still have one rally point at the square there just after dusk, and then perhaps an hour later a rally point behind the inn, and then after that a rally point an hour later. Over by wherever you dropped off the kid.
So you just suggested everybody should meet by the inn?
No, I said if we haven't rallied right after sunset, then perhaps an hour later to the east of the inn, and then perhaps an hour later after that, off to the
not
northwest.
at the inn.
Yeah,
because that went so lovely.
See, Torin.
Point of order that you probably don't have knowledge about where the girl is.
Nope.
You probably don't know that.
Yeah, none of you knows what's happened to the girl.
We just know that he had charge of her and was working on
What was
that.
our map? Let's just go just to the north of the church then.
Wait,
No, you
2
probably
hours
don't
later.
have. I don't think you have any knowledge of that.
Now,
No,
as
we
far
said
as
just to the north of the church.
As far as I know, the last time we spoke to Torin, he knew to meet us in the square.
Yes,
Right.
he does.
We can see the square from here.
That's the last he knew.
where we all know to meet.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we meet here, and then we can see him if he tries to meet at the square, and one of us can go over and grab him before anybody's noticed.
Okay, excellent plan. Let's do that. And then enjoy your shopping. Safety third. What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing like a nice pair of socks.
We'll meet here at dusk. Doc, I'll come with you and see if I can get some clothes of my own.
I also need to find clothes of this land, so I will join you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, River. I have signed a contract not to just roam in front of you. So, you can go or I can go. We cannot both go together. I do not want to break my contract.
Being the honorable person that he is.
I have the power to put up a wall that she can't see through that will make you safe to change behind.
Man,
So
I stand right next to her. She couldn't see me.
yes,
Yes.
and vice versa. So let's go.
Okay.
All right, everybody. These are the model release forms for the photographer and reporter last week. Everybody grab a copy. You guys as well. When it comes around, take one each. Don't fill it out right now. Just when you're not busy, go ahead and fill it out. But I just want you to have it so you can when you're waiting. All right, Joe, I will email it to you.
This is an extra. A couple extras. Pass those back.
Maybe for the
Oh,
crew.
wait, did the crew need them as well?
Yes.
Yes, they do
I'm
because
sorry,
they were in the
yeah,
shots
I-
as well. Here, Dan.
Okay.
Sorry about
It's
that.
easier for him to pass over.
Both of them. Alrighty then. So Farhad and Talk are going to go where?
South to try and catch the
merchant.
merchant,
Yeah.
and River's
Yeah,
coming along
River's
too.
coming.
Oh, okay.
He can't
And-
move fast.
So that just leaves Moisha and Weevil behind,
Yep.
correct?
Monitoring the situation.
Okay. All right. So where are the three of you going as far as the merchant?
Well, we'll check the
Was.
we'll check the square.
Each of you roll your intelligence that was watching the square during the chaos and pandemonium.
So you're investigating and not just spotting.
14 out of 11.
It's okay, I got you.
6 out of 15.
Okay.
7 out of 18.
Okay. Well, so for those that succeeded, it now as you're kind of replaying through your mind, you were kind of distracted by the chaos, but you do actually remember seeing a cart kind of off the road to the side, trying to squeeze past the chaos and go that way.
Oh, that's faster than I thought he was.
So, well, that went on for some time, and it has been some time since you retrieved the...
Well, we summarized, so it was easy to lose track of. how
Right,
much
but yeah, I mean... that-
game time.
Yeah,
was
it's
in it.
been... Since you were at the cart and such, it's been more than half an hour. You know, and
Oh, I
so-
didn't realize it was that far.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it
yeah.
would have been a little bit more calm
right.
about.
Well, that's and so, but that's okay. You were caught up in the excitement of let's go get stuff, and then you're going to, might have to go a little ways to catch him. But he can't have gone too fast in the muck. Remember, everything's very muddy, and his wheels were
It didn't look
gunking
like
up.
like a fast horse and cart to begin with.
No, it was not fast at all. But you
Even
did
if
see him during the
ideal
chaos go
roads.
through, and that at least gives you an idea of some direction instead of wandering aimlessly.
There are 3 releases per form, by the way, just in case anyone's interested.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
So you all can share a little.
We can share them, is what you're saying. All right,
Yes.
sure. Hand me this one on. Add my name
All right.
there.
So you're hunkered down in the woods.
Yeah, so I kind of hunkered down spot.
Okay.
I kind of calmed down.
Every now and then a little echoing
Well,
in the distance, very faintly.
okay then.
Just barking and
Well-
monkey sounds.
I'm gonna get my knife out. I'm gonna get a stick and I'm gonna start whittling and give myself something to do until it's dusk. Because I'm probably not gonna go back there. That's the only place I know where to find the party. So
Yep. Okay. So you're just laying low until dusk, then we'll head back to the
I'm gonna
square.
try to make myself a whistle, like a really good loud one.
Okay. Look like a
Yeah, it's
type
like
whistle.
you just like blowing like just like a loud, shrill,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
piercing whistle.
Signal
So,
Okay.
yeah, so I'm gonna start whittling on that.
Okay. Signal whistle. Okay. What's your dexterity
13.
and your intelligence?
12.
Okay.
That
And your
falls under
wisdom?
14.
Okay. Those are all contributing factors. That should be pretty good. Give it a d20 roll. I'm gonna
Give a
average it out
background
for
that might be relevant.
Not really,
you.
Trapper.
His background is relevant.
Yeah.
So
18.
okay. So not your you've made these before once in a while.
Bad stick, cracks in the middle.
Yeah, you're going through. It's going to take you 6 iterations, but you've got about 6 hours anyway, so 5 hours. So
Yeah. I got plenty of good food.
you do,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you might have one by the end of your waiting period.
All right.
So yeah, so you're just having trouble getting it just right. It's really easy now. I don't know if you whittled in real life, but sometimes it's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find the right wood.
Yep. So all
Sometimes
right.
you just got a pad piece of wood and
Yep.
yeah, there's
Blame it on the wood.
nothing you can
I
do
know.
about that.
I know.
It's the wood.
Yeah.
They used to the ball and cage and all that stuff. So it's
Didn't
fun.
have the right knots.
Yeah. Okay. So. So you guys start heading towards the center of town.
Keeping track of the activity.
Well, yeah, there is activity. People are going in and out as they're trying to frantically get ready to flee. So it's still pretty. It's no longer people trampling each other, but it's still quite busy.
Yeah. And I got my hood up and
Okay, so you have your hood up. All right, River.
I'm a kid, and as far as anybody knows, but
Okay.
I'm still trying to keep my keep towards the edge of the buildings and out of people's way. And
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just following talk, trying to not draw attention to myself as best I can.
Do you have a cloth over your head?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
Probably, yeah.
All right. And Weevil, you're remaining
I'm
behind.
Remaining behind, and I think we'll just trade off watching
Okay.
the whole area for the whole time.
All right, Moish, anything you want to do while you're waiting?
I'm just waiting for
Okay.
the party.
Farhad.
I guess I'll just chill out.
You're not going to go looking for the trader?
How far? Wait. No, they didn't tell me how far. They're like, he must be close, and I didn't know. So yeah, no, I'll be like, I'll go.
Yeah. The three of you were going. These two, well,
Those two figured out that it might be a lot farther and a better direction from what we anticipated.
right.
I didn't figure it out.
Correct.
They haven't told me yet. So let's go.
All right. So the three of you head to the center of town. People milling about. Are you hiding your appearance at all, Farhad?
My ears have been covered the whole time since I got to town.
Right.
I got that covered. I'm not covered. I'm not like wearing a hood. I've got my bushy mustache.
Okay, remind me, is your character darker skinned or pale skinned?
He is darker than your average elf.
Okay.
He's going to be probably darker than these mountain people.
Okay.
But not.
They're not really mountain people. They're
but
more
lighter than the
farmland.
average Iridian.
But he's not dark in Iridia.
Oh,
So,
right.
Olive?
They call him Whitey.
Albion.
So he would be a little darker skinned and such, and that but it would take closer appearance. But I just want to make sure I'm clear about that as far as
You could just have
people's
a really,
reactions.
really
But my mustache is
sunburned
definitely not from around
suntan.
these parts.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you're heading towards the center of town. People are quickly scrambling, pulling stuff out of their various businesses and homes, loading up whatever they can get as carts or horses or mules or cattle or animal dogs or whatever they can get to carry stuff, and frantically loading things up as fast as they can. Now, when the chaos started, that little bubble that was protecting the center of town from the rain that the priest had made popped. And so it's raining on the center as well now. But while you guys were debating, the rain started to lighten a bit. But also the temperature has been noticeably dropping. It was probably in the 50s, and it's dropping rapidly. So that's just something to be aware of. And it's about 1 in the afternoon, as I said. So you guys get to the center of town, and
Does that temperature drop seem in any way unnatural?
the weather. It's October. Hard to say right now. It not at this point. It seems.
Okay.
It's just
Maybe
notable.
something you notice, but it would draw your attention.
Not at this point. Correct. It just is something you notice. Yeah. And So you come to the center of town. Nobody's there. The people who you'd rescued have staggered off to their various homes or been helped by others. So the square is empty at the moment, other than near the buildings, but nobody's in it. And do you say anything about, because you can kind of see the muddy tracks going off to the northwest?
Well, I'm trying to keep quiet so as not to reveal the rich, melodious tones of my voice for my child-sized character.
Of course. Okay. River?
So I noticed that
As well.
And is Talk kind of leading this, or?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you want to walk at your normal pace.
I'm just
Over
following
the mud.
Talk because I just assume he knows where he's going.
Okay.
Because he's seen it.
So which way do you go?
I'm following the
Okay, so you
the
walk
cart tracks.
and then
'Cause
just follow the
I don't
tracks?
think anybody else had a cart.
Not
that
at that
chaos.
time. You see people loading carts.
Yeah,
you
so-
did see one or two carts that were having great difficulty moving, but they were not big carts. They were little
Yeah.
carts. There was a
Did
yeah.
he finally catch up with something from earlier?
Okay. Let's do the time warp again. All right, so you're following what you believe is the merchant cart's tracks because they're really heavy and deep in the mud, and two horses and such. And he's kind of staying off the road because the road is so trampled and muddy now. He's kind of staying to the side, so it's pretty easy to follow.
Ruining
And
the grass.
well, there's not grass per se, but yeah, various undergrowth and such. So continues west on the road, and let's see, get my bearings here. Goes past one area, and then looks like he stopped at one point, and then continues on. And again, you're trudging through the mud. The road is, still very saturated and difficult to get through. Then it looks like he veered north up a road farther on and went north. You still don't see him. You're going to go on that, and the road continues west or north. The tracks clearly go north.
Follow it a little bit further.
Okay, and at this point you've gone about.
It's still afternoon. We're not meeting.
Oh
till
yeah,
dusk.
it's about 1:30. You've gone almost a mile. So, meanwhile, Weevil and Moisha and Torin, now you're noticing the temperature even more. Especially since you three are sitting, the temperature change is more noticeable. The rain has all but stopped, and the heavy overcast is thinning, though not going away, but the temperature is dropping pretty quickly. It's getting chilly. It was in the 50s and it's already dropped to the low 40s in a short time, in about half an hour.
This looks like it's
We angered Odin. Odin's coming, Odin's coming, Odin's coming.
So,
Clearly confused. We had a godlike figure.
yeah, you save it for the judge. Save it for the god. All right. I don't know if any of the three of you want to say or do anything in response to the cold.
Other than-
You guys are exerting so much, you're not noticing it as much. That's what you notice it got cooler, but you're not feeling it as much. These three are sedentary at the moment, and you're really feeling
Other
it.
than just finding like some place that has the best passive warmth, like hollow log or it's
Well, you're
punk-
under a relatively dry. I mean, the forest is pretty thick here.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it's deciduous and there's not evergreens here.
I throw
So-
my blanket roll and my blanket over me. and
Okay,
just kinda hunker
it
down.
helps warm up,
Yeah.
but you're starting to see your breath coming out and such as it gets chillier and chillier. You're not hearing the dog and monkey sounds anymore at this point.
I wonder if that means he's cursed. Keep hearing.
All right, so you guys
And I'll
continue
have,
north on the road.
Socrates, go ahead and start digging a little trench for us. For
In the
just
mud.
In case. Well, if it's a mud, then it's not worth doing. Is
Yeah,
it?
remember, everything's muddy. It's been raining for days.
It's not worth it. We'll
Yeah,
just,
it's been raining for days in October. Everything's
never
muddy.
mind. We'll just
I'll put on
sit
my
here and
coat
live with
and
it.
sit
Okay.
tight to
All right.
Herschel.
wrap myself up in some of these bags I have.
Okay. So 3 of you are walking north on the road, and you pass a farmhouse, and you distinctly hear from the back of the house a little girl's voice, unmistakably the little girl you were taking care of, talking to somebody excitedly. Yeah, on the other side of the building. Do you want to stop and go say hi to her, or continue north on the road?
No, we just got rid of her. We were responsible. We did the right thing, but
Yeah.
yeah, she's a.
We get a
albatross.
warm fuzzy feeling that
demons
we
and
saved her.
little devils.
All right, so you continue on north. About 15 minutes after that, again, the rain has stopped. The skies are still overcast, but the mist is pulling back. And the road pretty much goes straight north as far, for a while. And you think you see another mile or so away the backside of the wagon. But he's about a mile ahead of you in the muck. You think it'll take you another, and by this time it's about 2:15. So it'll probably be almost 3 before you catch up to him.
Yeah, sounds fine.
Unless you pick
what
up the
if-
pace.
What if we run?
In the heavy mud?
In the rain?
Okay. Well, the rain stopped, but everything's really, really, really muddy and slick. But
Are
you
you
are
planning
welcome
on
to.
carrying me?
It would require initially a dex check to keep from slipping and sliding and falling, and then a constitution check to maintain it because it's such an exertion.
Oh, you rat. I'm happy with the dexterity check.
You dirty rat. Anybody else want to run?
I'm
You guys
pacing
stay
myself.
here. I'll run to catch him. And then when I start buying things, he'll be stopped, and you can catch up.
So Farhad takes off. Roll your dex.
9 out of 18.
All right. So he takes off. Elegantly, skimming atop the wetness and the muck
I'm naturally
at a good
help.
speed. Yeah, and just takes off. What do you two do?
Even the mud isn't splashing.
Yeah. You two continue at your pace.
Yep.
Yep.
I am not running.
All right.
Don't want to exhaust myself.
Okay. So about 15 minutes into it, let's do a Constitution check there, Farhad.
Wait, 15 minutes? You're saying I can't run a 15-minute mile?
Well, you're not able to run full speed in all this muck. You're.
So if I rolled at 1, I could have rolled at full speed. So at a 9, I could run half speed.
Let's not splice it too thin.
You ever try and run along the
How long do you
beach
think
just
it's
in
going to
the
take me to run a
water?
mile in this mud?
In this mud, it's going to take you about 3 times longer than normal.
So 3 5s is 15 minutes.
Okay. 3 times no longer. Yeah, cool. All right. Con check. Coming
Okay.
up.
Yep.
Natural 20.
Okay. So you're making great progress. You're hauling along nicely, and because of all the mud building up on your boots and just your muscles are constantly having to adjust to all the slipping and sliding at this speed. Your legs start getting rapidly very leaden, and you start getting tired very quickly. Do you want to? And at this point, you're not able to maintain a run, but you can still maintain a jog.
I'm going to run with all of my might for as long as I can until I collapse or get there.
Okay. Great. Roll a system shock. That's percentage under Constitution.
They are.
And thus far, I've died.
It's not fate.
And this is how the story of the marathon.
52 out of 80.
50 out of- Okay, good. All right, so you're running, you're giving it every last bit of your heart and soul and just pushing through it, and the mud's getting heavier. Your legs are getting more and more leaden. You can barely lift your arms anymore. You're panting heavily. You're just kind of flopping almost with exhaustion. You do finally come running up to the cart, which is still just kind of plodding along. As you come running up to the back of it, you could try to make a grab for it because you have almost no energy left to keep going. There is a little foot back on the back to step up into it. There are little steps that you could try to get up on with a dex check. You will be at a penalty because of your exhaustion. Your dex will be 4 lower than normal, but you still have a pretty exceptional dex.
Can I keep running till I get in front of it?
You're about to collapse.
Okay. Then I'll jump on like the ninja I am.
Oh god! Please don't get dragged behind the cart.
13.
Out of 14.
All right. So with your last spurt of energy, you leap up onto the stairs with your muddy boots, kind of slip and slide because the boots don't have any purchase on the steps, but you grab the handle and hold on for dear life, get your feet finally under you, and just hang on panting on the back of the carriage, catching your breath, just utterly... You've spent every last ounce of energy, and it's going to take you a little while to recover before you can move again. But you are on the back of the wagon. And you guys see this whole thing happen. You saw him progressively get kind of floppier and more exhausted. That exhausted marathon runner's look.
Customer, you have a customer.
Oh, don't ruin this for us. Please don't ruin this for us.
His hat fell off.
So you keep calling out, customer, you have a customer? All right.
Customer.
All right.
Customer,
So initially, it just comes out in gasps between your breath. Slowly, as you catch your breath, it gets a little stronger, with a little more volume. And after about 5 more minutes, you're finally able to start calling out, just winded now, but with a little more volume. That's what you're calling over and over. At that point, finally, the wagon suddenly stops with a jolt.
Roll for initiative.
Do you keep calling out or go silent?
Customer, I wish to do some trading. I'd like to buy some of the wares.
It's like the kids running after the ice cream truck.
I want 2 rocket pops.
So you hear some movement inside the wagon, and then on the other side of the door is, who's there?
I'm a simple contract negotiator for a weaving firm. We would like to expand our business as well as sample some of your exactly wares and your fine products.
He opens a little sliding viewport in the door in the back and looks down at you. And, oh, well, you're not a local.
Oh, they're terrible.
So you hear him slide a bar and carefully look out. It's a 2-part door, and so he carefully opens the right side door, giving you time to not be knocked off the back to move out of the way, and then he reaches out a hand to help you come step up into the cart. And inside there's a nice little smell of leathers and all sorts of goods and ointments and things like that. Just all kinds of different smells and warmth. It didn't process at first, but you realized there was a little chimney stack sticking out of the back of his little wagon. And you guys can see from a distance a little bit of smoke coming out, and there's a little fire inside to keeping the inside warm. Not hot, but warm. And so he beckons you to sit down on some crates and warm yourself for a moment. And he was making some tea and asked if you would like any.
Yes, I would love some tea. I haven't had good tea since I left my homeland.
Well, I can't say it would be as good as Iridian spiced tea. It's more of the minty kind around here, but I'll hopefully you'll enjoy it. It'll warm you at least. Here you go.
Thank you so
Here
much.
you go. All right, so he gives you a little metal cup of it, and it's quite hot. So you guys see the wagon stopped, and he went inside, and you guys are slowly catching up.
That's
Do you want to pick up your pace, or
Still
just continue?
walking.
All right.
We saw what picking up the pace does.
Okay. Meanwhile, you two, temperature is continuing to drop. It is now definitely down in the 30s. You know, it's now a little after 2.
So I want to determine if any of these buildings that in and near this square that would actually be able to maintain sight of the square appears to have been abandoned by the locals.
You have seen a few people batten down the hatches, board some things up, and leave now.
Okay.
Some went east. Most have gone west because the road, remember, goes this way.
Okay.
And that's as far
So
as you
I'm
can tell.
going to propose actually I'll do this in character. So
Mhm.
Weevil says to our dwarf friend here,
Morsha?
to Moisha, I think we need to go and move into one of these abandoned buildings. I think it's important that we maintain a watch over the square. But I think we would be wise, given how cold it is, that we move to a more protected spot. And I go, I think that these particular houses appear to have been abandoned by people fleeing to the west. Let's go and see if we can't sneak our way into there.
It is mighty chilly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make sure that there's nobody
Mm-hmm.
there before we move in.
So then I think we ought to go and try and sneak on over to... Actually, can you point out which of the houses might have been...
You bet.
Uh-huh.
Remember, most of these directly in town are businesses, so this one looked like just a knick-knack place of variety stuff. This one, this one looked like a mercantile. Of course, this is the inn. So
What
the
about that
knick-knack
little-
place is empty.
What about the little one next to the temple?
That one there?
Yeah.
That looks like some sort of store, one of the 2 storage houses for the temple.
Okay.
So you could go into that storehouse.
Because that way we could see the center
Yeah.
of town where we're expecting talk.
You don't
or
see
we're
any
expecting
doors on the
touring.
side, but yeah, you could probably around the front there might be a door. You want to go creep up to that?
Yeah, I want to check it out.
Okay, we gotta stop for a break. Torin, all right. What did you want to do? It looked like you said you wanted to do something before we stop.
No, so I'm in the cold.
Yes.
And still cutting and being mad at the sticks. And they got magic rainbows. They got magic fish. They have like a magic rock so you can just talk to people you want to talk to.
AKA Cryptomancer. That's nicely done. All right, we're going to take a short 10-minute break. So we'll be back. That'll put us at, 7:43? Okay, 7:43, we will be back on the air. Thank you for joining us. Don't go away.
S01E13P1.